Okay, well.
نبايع أمير المؤمنين وخليفة المسلمين الشيخ أبا بكر البغدادي القرشي الحسيني على السمع والطاعة في المنشط والمكره وفي العسر واليسر وعلى أثرة علينا وألا ننازع الأمر أهلا إلا أن نرى كفرا بواحا عندنا من الله فيه برهان والله على ما نقول شهيد. تكبير تكبير تكبير.
لا يا قصف البراميل متفجرة على المدينة. الله أكبر. الله أكبر دارية.
CNN has just learned that ISIS is now claiming responsibility for the coordinated Easter Sunday bombings at Catholic churches and luxury hotels in Sri Lanka. These bombings killed more than 300 people. A top Sri Lankan defense official said the attacks were in retaliation for the New Zealand mosque attacks, which you will remember. That is where a white supremacist killed 50 Muslims inside 2 mosques in Christchurch last month.
This morning, there are many questions about intelligence failures. Authorities reportedly had prior information that a possible attack was coming, but did nothing to stop it. And right now, police in the country's capital are on high alert as they search for 2 vehicles that they say may be carrying explosives. CNN's Ivan Watson is live in Negombo, Sri Lanka, with all of the breaking details. What's happening at this hour, Ivan?
Hi there, Allison. That's true. ISIS is now claiming responsibility for these just horrific attacks that took place across 3 different cities in Sri Lanka on Sunday. The attacks more than 48 hours ago. U.S. officials were already telling CNN that it looked like it had been inspired by an organization like ISIS. Meanwhile, a senior Sri Lankan defense official has spoken in Parliament, and he has blamed the coordinated terror attacks on a little-known local Islamist extremist organization named National Tawheed Jamaat, and alleging that this homegrown organization was acting in retaliation for the deadly mass shootings that took place in Christchurch, New Zealand, against 2 mosques there last month. A lot to unpack here, but there is one commonality here. If these 2 attacks are linked by some twisted logic of retaliation, the weapons may have been different, but if you can see behind me, the end result is the same. Places of worship where innocent civilians had been gathered in prayer, ripped apart, women, men, children, innocents, cut down by the scores, leaving families that will forever be broken. Now, the Sri Lankans are moving forward in their investigation, calling for international assistance, given that there may be, well, international links behind this very carefully coordinated series of attacks that took place on Sunday. They say they have detained at least 40 suspects, all believed to be Sri Lankans, but they're still very much on edge. There is a curfew expected to go into effect at 9 p.m. tonight. John, Allison.
Ivan, thank you very much for the reporting from there. Please keep us posted as you get more details. Joining us now is CNN terrorism analyst Paul Cruikshank. He's the editor-in-chief of the CTC Sentinel and the co-author of 9 Lives, My Time as the West's Top Spy Inside Al-Qaeda. Paul, we wanted to get you right back because 2 hours ago, ISIS had not yet claimed responsibility. Now they have. What does it say to you that ISIS could remotely pull off an attack with this level of carnage, 321 people killed, 500 others injured? What does it say about their current viability?
Well, they've claimed responsibility just a few minutes ago via their official messaging channels, but they offer no evidence yet that they were actually responsible for this attack. It was a very short statement saying that the attack was carried out by its fighters targeting the citizens of coalition countries, the anti-ISIS coalition, and also Christians. No mention of the Christchurch terrorist attack in their statement, it should be pointed out. But they provided no evidence they were behind this attack yet, and they put out full statements previously claiming responsibility for attacks they had no role in whatsoever. One example was back in October 2017 with that Las Vegas shooting. They claimed responsibility after that. They had nothing to do with that attack. So it remains to be seen whether they did have a link to this. But as Barbara Starr has reported, US intelligence have identified one operative they believe was part of this, who they believe had links to ISIS. So there could well be a link to ISIS, possible that they provided direction to this, some assistance to this attack. The group, which the Sri Lankans have said are responsible for this attack within Sri Lanka, are a very small jihadi outfit that haven't really had the capacity or capability to pull something like this off. So you would look, as an investigator, at the possibility of an assistance from an international terror network. There are 32 and more Sri Lankans that have gone to join ISIS in Syria in recent years. So there's a possibility perhaps some of those fighters came back to plan this attack or provided direction from overseas. A lot of questions still. And one of the main questions was this local group that hadn't done anything like this caliber before, could they pull it off without assistance, which is why people began looking to places like ISIS. And also, ISIS, after what happened in New Zealand, put out an international call for retaliation, Paul. That's right. ISIS put out an international call for retaliation. So did al-Qaeda. But al-Qaeda told their supporters and followers around the world, do not attack places of worship. And that's one of the reasons why I think US intelligence are focusing in on ISIS as the group that maybe inspired this, maybe had a link to this. We'll have to wait and see in the hours to come whether ISIS puts out more information suggesting they had insider knowledge about this attack. That may then suggest they really did have some kind of role. But right now, we should absolutely not take their word for it. All right, Paul Cruikshank, as always, excellent advice and insight from you. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Those new images and new reporting here inside that horrific terror attack, multiple churches and hotels on Easter Sunday. The death toll is simply staggering tonight. Nearly 300 dead, and there are several Americans among the dead, including a fifth grader. Just today, another explosion, a van bursting into flames near one of those devastated churches. Sri Lankan TV showing this surveillance video tonight, a man with a heavy backpack there, walking along a crowd of churchgoers seen on a church camera, suddenly disappearing into that crowd. Among the Americans, I mentioned that 11-year-old boy who went to school in Washington, D.C. Another bomber waiting in line for brunch at a hotel. And tonight we learned there were at least 3 warnings that there were possible plans for a terror attack underway. So why wasn't there more security? ABC's James Longman is in Sri Lanka, leading us off tonight.
Tonight, new panic on the streets of Sri Lanka's capital city. Police eyeing this white van when all of a sudden, soldiers scatter. The neighborhood descends into chaos yards from where we are.
A huge explosion just went off just around that corner there. As soon as it did, buildings around here, windows shattered, huge scream went up from the crowd over there. You can see them running towards our position here where we are now. Police on high alert. We don't know what it was, whether or not it was a police detonation, but that was absolutely terrifying.
Terrified and bewildered as tonight we learn that intelligence services ignored repeated warnings of imminent terrorist attacks they first received weeks ago. Then on Easter morning, one after another, the suicide bombs went off. This dashcam video captures the first explosion at St. Anthony's Catholic Church. It was 8:45 a.m., the clock now frozen in time. Around that same time, a man with a backpack seen on security cameras approaching St. Sebastian's Church in nearby Negumbo. Investigators poring over these images broadcast on Sri Lankan TV, the man weaving through the crowd. Another camera inside the church showing him pass behind the worshippers. He's reportedly one of the bombers. And moments later, the weapon detonates. In the aftermath, the roof completely blown off. Where the faithful once knelt, only glass and debris. A celebration of new life now ravaged by death. But the attack's far from over. In the next 15 minutes, suicide terrorists strike 3 hotels popular with Western tourists. One killer even waiting in line at an Easter brunch buffet before detonating his explosive. On the other side of the country, another church becomes a target. Later in the day, another hotel. 500 injured, victims rushed to hospitals. Outside St Anthony's, bodies draped in white cloth. Nearly 300 killed in these attacks, including at least 4 Americans. Dieter Kowalski of Colorado, who was here on a business trip, and 11-year-old Kieran Shafritz de Zoyzer, who was to start 7th grade at Sidwell Friends in Washington, D.C., his father remembering his son.
A brilliant mind who was going to be a neuroscientist, and now he won't make it to his 12th birthday.
24 people are under arrest. Soldiers scaled the walls of this apartment building where they believe the attacks were planned. Moments later, another explosion. 3 officers killed.
Another very tense day there. James Longman joins us live tonight from Sri Lanka. And James, this evening, authorities are now pointing to a local Islamist extremist group for the attacks. But as you reported there, authorities were warned 10 days before the attacks, and people all over the world are asking, why wasn't there more security?
Yeah, that's right. People here are astounded at that, David. And authorities say this group must have had help from abroad. Such was the level of sophistication and coordination of these attacks. It's possible they were inspired by ISIS, but the big question, was ISIS involved in carrying them out? David?
James Longman on the scene again tonight for us. James, thank you.